with evidence.
Now to an update in the Lindsay Clancy trial. The defense is now presenting their case after the prosecution rested theirs this morning. Lindsay Clancy is the Massachusetts mother accused of murdering her 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and 8-month-old children in 2023. Whether the 36-year-old fatally strangled her kids is not at issue. She admits to doing so. But her defense is that she was suffering from psychosis that was induced by postpartum. Prosecutors called more than 70 witnesses, including her ex-husband and medical providers, to try to prove she was not mentally disabled or unstable. Clancy could go to prison for the rest of her life if she's convicted. If not, she will likely be committed to a psychiatric hospital.